Out. I'm going to go ahead and get started a little bit early since we have a lot of people here, and I know the councilman usually wants to start off and talk about what's going on in the 4th District. So if you guys don't mind, I'll introduce your District City Councilman, 4th District Councilman Bill Emerson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for everyone coming out on this cold night to Mayor's Night Out. And thanks for the time to talk about the 4th. I got it in 3 parts. I'll try to be as quick as I can. Edison Park, complete rebuild after we got rid of the pool. 2 soccer fields, playground, skateboard park, and a widened walking path. I want to thank Matt Reardon for engineering it. Mark Heinz from the Parks Department. Janet Vanez from the Edison Community Watch. For the 2 new benches. It's greatly appreciated. Riverside Park, the new Frisbee golf course. I say new because there was one there before, and I believe since we last met, we had the ribbon cutting, and Mayor McDermott 1 was out there. It was really cool, and we appreciate the continued use of Hammond's first dog park in Riverside Park. There's other dog parks, but that was the first one. New tennis court in Indy Illy Park over off of Holman, and new playgrounds at all 4 parks in the 4th District, Riverside, Edison, Indy Illy, and Riches Park at the end of Harrison Avenue. Projects, real quick in the interest of time, I have a map that says what we did in 2018. If you want to, after the meeting, come up and look at what we did without going through every overlay and every lighting project. In 2019, we're considering focusing on the Schleicher area a little more. We've done things down there, and we're trying to do a little more down there. Also, we're considering focusing on trees. I met with Devin Wick, and we talked. The 4th District has the most trees in the city of Hammond. And some of them need to be removed, cut down rather, and some need to be trimmed. I want to compliment the 5th District Councilman, wherever he is, Dave Warple, there he is. He did a lot of tree trimming, and I'm considering right now what to do this year with that, because we have a lot of trees that need to be removed. So the problem is, the tax caps kick in next year, 2020, and so it's interesting to see how we do that. We can't do everything, and money may be tighter next year. I'm safe to say it will be. Unfinished business, and that's what I'm finishing up with. Hundreds of residents in the 4th District have been taken out of the floodplain, and they no longer have to pay flood insurance, which if you have to pay flood insurance, you know what a pain that is. There's situations where a neighbor didn't have to pay because he was an inch higher than the guy that was complaining to me as I walked through the neighborhood. So I want to thank Dean Button of Engineering for facilitating this, and Dan Repay of the Little Calumet River Commission for building the levee, which enabled people not to pay flood insurance. And we're also paying for that, you know. I also want to thank Africa Tarver, Brian Poland, and Planning and Development. A work in progress, and I don't want to say it's going to happen, but we're hoping that it happens. Lamar, the advertising company, on 177th Street, was interested in buying the business next to the haunted house, if you're familiar with that. So we're hoping that goes through. I'm not promising it will, but we hope it is. Right by 8094, 165th and Calumet, the old carpet store has been demolished. The gentleman had health problems, and he just couldn't do it anymore. So that's prime to me because there's CVS on one side, one corner, BP, and so we hope that happens. 169th and Calumet, the old USA muffler shop, that has been raised, and the house next to it was a cut up, but I think it had 3 apartments in it, 2 or 3, and a gentleman is interested in that, and I don't want to say any more about it because it's a work in progress. Lastly, the west side of Linden Avenue. The EPA is about to hit Hammond with quite a bit of money we're going to have to pay, and that's because we had industry, they polluted the rivers. When you have industry and rivers, it's not a bad mix. It is a bad mix. It wasn't back then. Everybody just dumped everything in the alley or wherever. And so anyway, there's a stormwater retention pond being built, and I drove by it today. That block of Linden, 7,500, there's about six structures left, and one of them's that gas station on the corner, 175th and Columbia, and they're in the process of being knocked down, so we'll have a retention pond there. And that's my report, and thanks for coming out.
Thanks, Bill. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for coming out to Mayor's Night Out, 4th District. For the next Mayor's Night Out, I'll go ahead and announce it right now. It's February 27th at Purdue Northwest on 169th Street, the Student Union Room, 360 in the library building. So that's February 27th, 2019 at Room 360, the library building at Purdue Northwest. So thanks for coming out. I want to thank Principal Allison Lenzo for allowing us to use their building. Is the principal here right now? Let her know we said thank you. We appreciate it very much. Let's go ahead. I'd like to introduce Donna Muda, who's Special Events Coordinator for the city. How you doing, Donna?
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. You want
With
to
her
do the-
husband right behind her. How's it going, Officer John? Yeah, nice. So anyway, Donna, why don't we go ahead and remind everybody, this is being filmed live on Go Hammond TV, so if you wanted to watch it afterwards, or there are, right now, probably about 20 people viewing it live. Oh, actually, 31 people viewing it live on the internet as we speak. We archive it on Go Hammond TV, so you can watch it. If you missed one, you could watch a previous meeting that you missed. So anyway, when I took over as mayor, there used to be channel 16, was it? Channel 16. And then like only part of the city would have access to channel 16. And channel 16 would be great if you had that type of cable system, but if you had Dish or something else, you were just screwed. So now we have this great, if you have access to the internet, which is almost universal nowadays, you can go right on GoHammond.com. Go Hammond TV, and you can watch council meetings, you can watch Mayor's Night Out, you can watch other things pertaining to your city. So anyway, Donna, why don't we go ahead and introduce the department heads, and then we'll get rolling with the questions. I want to remind everybody that this is all generated by written questions, and I talked to Donna, and we only had one written question, which would be shockingly short, which is fine with me. I had a really long public meeting last night in the north part of our city, but if you have questions, I'd ask you to pre-submit them to Eileen. Eileen, can you please raise your hand? I have a feeling this is probably Eileen's last Mayor's Night Out for a while. I want to say congratulations, Eileen. In a couple weeks, she's going to be Mommy Eileen. So thank you for coming out. We'll miss you, and I'm sure you'll be back on the circuit in no time. So awesome. So anyway, let's go ahead and start introducing everybody.
Mayor, Sharon's got the mic. She'll
Go ahead, Sharon.
start at that end.
Good evening. Sharon Daniels, Personnel and College Bound.
Mark Heinz, Parks and Recreation.
Bob Vale, Building.
Clyde Stout, Public Works.
Jaime Prieto, Code Enforcement.
Kelly Kearney, Inspections.
Dennis Radowski, United Neighborhoods, Inc.
Phil Talon, Chief of Staff.
Africa Tarver, Planning and Development.
Chris Sakalaris, Legal Aid.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Ron Novak, Environmental.
Dean Button, Engineering.
Bill Everson, 4th District Councilman.
John Doty, Police Department.
Heather Gray, City Controller.
Milo Krasinski, Port Authority.
Chris Campbell, Information Technology.
Chris Kantar, Law Department.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Ann Anderson, Economic Development.
Matt Muda, Sanitary District.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance.
Marty Wolgas, Hammond Sanitary District.
Carmen Paniagua, Housing Authority.
Ed Caruso, Water.
Okay, so we got every department in our city, for the most part, represented right now. Like I said, we generate off of your written questions. So let's say your first question was about the Hammond Water Company. We'd probably go over to Ed and ask Ed to fill you in on that detail. And if somebody else in the audience had a question about the Hammond Water Department, you'd say, hey, you know, I wanted to talk to you about my billing, or I wanted to ask you a question about how you guys do this. As long as it was pertaining to the Hammond Water Department, we try to stay on topic. And then when we're done with that topic, we'll bounce to the next written question, which may be about the street department, okay? So anyway, that's all we ask during Mayor's Night is you stay on topic. We'll usually make sure nobody has any questions about that topic, and then once we're done, we'll move on, okay? Anyway, it's great to be back in the 4th District. Last night I had an hour-and-a-half public meeting in the north part of our city regarding the situation, an environmental situation up there. So we're all pretty much battle tested. A lot of us were at the meeting last night, and you know, so 2 nights in a row we got the public meetings. So let's go ahead and get started, Donna.
Great, Mayor. First question, when will watershed buildings demolition start?
Okay, so what I guess we're talking about in this one, we're talking about the project that Councilman was talking about a little earlier, where the Hammond Sanitary District purchased the west side of Linden Avenue, all the homes on that side, and we're going to make a stormwater drainage area over there that'll help us with our watershed. This is going to benefit us in the future because we're going to eventually have to do a couple $100 million worth of repairs to our Hammond Sanitary District. So I'd like to go ahead and pass the microphone to Marty. Marty, do you mind shedding some light on this for us? Marty's the CEO of the Hammond Sanitary District, and he's sort of spearheading this operation for us.
Well, thank you, Mayor. The project on Linden, on the west side, is a retainer pond that will hold about 1 million gallons of storm water. I want to point out that that's only storm water. It's not combined sewer storm, it's plain storm water. What that does is everything coming from the south, coming up to the plant up north, it gives us and buys us extra time by diverting that water into that pond so that the plant doesn't become overstressed in heavy rains. And as we all know, the rain patterns have changed here dramatically from what they were 20 years ago. We experience more monsoon type rains, a lot of rain that falls in a very short period of time as compared to rain that used to fall within an entire day. So when we get these heavy rains, all of that water is coming to the plant, and so this retention pond will help store, like I said, about 1 million gallons to help us hold it and then drain it back into the system.
And those are in the extreme cases, right, Marty?
They are.
So in most of the year...
Most of the year it'll be dry and it'll be park-like. So our plan is to be able to put a walking trail around it and do some other things that'll
Sort of
be
like we
park-like.
did by the water tower and right off of Michigan?
Yes,
Same
absolutely.
type of thing, like a pocket park type of... And then when we have a heavy rain event, it will overflow stormwater into that park.
That is correct.
Okay, so, and I think you made a couple things clear. First off, we had to acquire those properties, which stinks, because we had to relocate some, you know, and we had to buy a couple apartment buildings, and we had to purchase the old gas station. And is it gonna be like a steep drop? Is it gonna be gradual, like?
The indentation will be about 1.5 feet, maybe probably closer to a foot.
At the deepest point, it'll be a
At
foot
the
and a half?
deepest point, it'll be about 1 foot, and then it'll automatically drain, gravity fed back to the plant when we have and finish with the rainstorm.
So it's sort of like your stormwater, the deep tunnel you have over by the plant, except for this is just stormwater, this isn't.
That is
combined,
correct,
right?
yes.
Cool,
Yes.
interesting question. So right now, where are we currently with the process?
There are 3 or 4 homes left to be demolished. I'm gonna let Matt pick that up because
Sure.
he's the point man there.
Okay, thanks. Hey, Matt.
Hi.
How's it
Hi.
going?
Good. It's great. So there are 4 houses and 2 apartment complexes left, and then the gas station.
They're vacant though, right?
Yes,
They're
everything
left
is-
to be demolished.
Correct. Everything
Right.
is vacant, boarded up, and the power and gas have all been retired at all of those houses and apartment complexes. So they're all ready to be demoed.
Awesome. So we should be seeing that anytime now?
Yes.
Awesome. Great. Any follow-up questions on that? Hey. I'm sorry?
Building any more retention ponds?
Well, eventually, yeah, but nothing in this area. Big combined. So the one we have up by the plant, over there off Columbia Avenue, right across Columbia Avenue from the plant, 55 million gallons, I want to say?
33 million.
Really? It was $55 million then, right? Something like.
45 million.
Okay, that was close. It's like, so those are, we'll have to probably do in the future. There's nothing in the short-term plan for that in the future. I know Marty's working on alternatives where we may not have to do something like that, but that's what the EPA expects from us, is to not overflow in the plant anymore and overflow into the Grand Calumet River, which was a regular occurrence for our entire history of our city. Okay, I'm not gonna even say any one administration, all of them. When my dad was mayor, it happened every time it would rain heavy. When I was mayor, when Mayor Dietlow was mayor, when Mayor Wiskowski was mayor, when Mayor Dowling was mayor, you go way back. Was it happening? Yes. It happened almost every time we had a heavy rain. And back then, the EPA didn't care. So you overflow, it's combined, it's mostly stormwater, but it's got some sewage in there, and it goes into the Grand Cal, and then the Grand Cal empties up into Lake Michigan, and then they test the water in Lake Michigan on a warm summer day, and they say, wait a second, we can't swim today. There's high E. coli levels. That's us. So what the EPA wants is, and that would happen in 1985. How often did we overflow the plant into the Grand Cal? When my dad was mayor.
Every rain, just
So what?
about every rain
50
back in
times
the
a year?
80s.
50 times?
At least, yes.
Okay. So back when my dad was mayor, back when nobody really talked about the EPA and the lake and stuff like that, it would happen 50 times. So our plant would just overflow. It's like, hey, it's a Tuesday, right? Now the EPA wants 0 overflows a year. 0. That means we have to build a plant that's not just your average rainstorm that we're getting. It's like the extraordinary rainstorms. We got to have no overflow. And if we're approaching peak capacity, we start filling up these ditches with combined sewage and stormwater. And we're not supposed to run out of space to store it. We're not supposed to drip one drop into the Grand Calumet that's combined anymore. Now, it's probably a noble goal, but that's not going to be cheap. Not going to be cheap. That's why I'm very clear with the city council. I know what's coming in the next 4 years. We all know what's coming. It's not going to be fun. We're going to have to make some tough decisions. But I want you all to know, like, the good news for the Hammond resident, next year, if you're a homeowner, you're going to save 1/3 on your property taxes next year. That is happening. That's great news for you. It's not great news for us, though, because your police officers and firemen still expect to get paid. This ain't the federal government. We can lay them off for a month, too. We got to pay everybody. And that's coming. So we're losing $5-6 million in revenue next year. It's happening. We voted for it 10 years ago. It's happening. And the good news is you're getting a tax break next year. But we got to figure out how to make the government work with much less money. So.
And Mayor, if I can just add to that, you're exactly right on the city end, but also on the sanitary side, the sewer department, which maintains the sewers across the entire city, has 0 budget going into
Because of the new tax.
Because of the new tax.
So now we have to, and this is a department that we need. It's like preventative maintenance that's keeping our arteries clean. If you have a clogged artery, it's bad news for your health. If we have a clogged artery, it's bad news for our infrastructure. So Jack's crew is constantly working and cleaning out our sewers that are underneath our streets that we don't think about. Jack, every day of your life, you got people working on preventative maintenance.
Every day. I got a total of 4 vectors that are out.
How many miles
constantly.
of sewers do we have?
Over 400.
And you guys, every, 10 years you have to be through all 400, something to that?
It's 10 years, but we dropped that down to almost 6 years now with the staff that
So
I
if you
have.
did these sewers in this neighborhood today, you wouldn't be back for 6 years, but you would be in every sewer in the entire city.
Correct, unless a situation comes up. And then
Now, if we didn't have your crew constantly doing that, what happens? Like if we just say next year, oh, sorry, Jack, tax caps. So what happens to our city sewers?
I would recommend all the homeowners to get backflow preventers. You guys would be in big trouble.
Okay. Because you're constantly cleaning out branches, constantly cleaning out blockages, constantly cleaning these out so that when we have the big storms, the water's flowing quick, right?
Correct. I could throw this at you. This year we cleaned 74 miles of sewers. We pulled out 2,200 ton, which comes out to 4 million pounds of wet solids out of the sewers that aren't supposed to be there.
Yummy. Okay.
And Mayor, I would just add to that in the fact that keeping those sewers clean not only help stop backups into basements, which nobody wants, but it also allows everything to get to the plant much more quickly.
True.
And that way we can deal with it in a cleaner state than if they weren't cleaned at all.
What kind of stuff do you find? Like, what's the craziest stuff you find?
I'll
like
let-
pairs of pants? Like, you find like big stuff? Towels?
Towels, rags. We found bathtubs. Yes.
That's unusual.
And that was on Columbia Avenue. That was in our 108-inch sewer.
How did it get in there?
Mayor, I can't answer that.
Okay, so anyway. So if there was a towel or something like that, it could get up into our pump system, it could get in our pumps and ruin the pumps?
Correct.
Okay, so I guess what Marty's adding to is not only are we worried on the city side of losing money for property tax caps, we're also losing money on the sanitary district that gets property tax revenue for this department. So we got major challenges facing us. But the good news for you, you got a tax break coming next year. 1/3 of your property tax revenue for your home will be, it goes from 1.5 to 1. So anyway, follow-up questions. We sort of launched. Hi, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Vines.
Compliment the city on the what the plan is for Linden Avenue. Although it's an expensive project, the plans that you have are going to be beautiful. It's going to change the whole landscape of that neighborhood. Quite frankly, that neighborhood was a bit of a problem, and a lot of that will be eliminated with the demolition of the apartments and the gas station and the beautification that's coming on both the east and west side of Columbia Avenue.
That's interesting.
It's going to completely change the landscape of that area, and I compliment you for looking forward in beautifying our neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, Councilwoman. You know what? I'm going to take a second to introduce the elected officials in attendance. Councilwoman Janet Vines, thank you very much, Councilwoman. The Council President, Robert Margovich, thank you very much, Councilman. Councilman at Large, Dan Spitali, thank you very much, Councilman. First District Councilman, Mark Kowinski, thank you very much, Councilman. Fourth District Councilman, Bill Emerson. Fifth District Councilman, Dave Werpel. Sixth District Councilman, Scott Rakos. I'm just guessing you guys are here. I know Hammond City Clerk, Robert Golick. Thank you very much, Clerk Golick. Is Councilman Dave here? Other Councilman Dave? No, Dave Ham? Okay. All right, let's go ahead. Do we have any questions about, so yeah, George?
Water Department bill.
Sure.
What entity is being taxed through property taxes?
Good question.
And what entities
I heard you
are-
ask this at a council meeting. I'm glad you brought this
Yeah,
up.
and what am I paying for?
Okay,
just by
George
virtue of
asked at a
fees?
city council meeting. This is the one for Marty. Okay? George asked at a city council meeting, hey, you know, I know a lot of our rates have been going up lately because of the EPA mandate, the last EPA mandate where we built your trench. Or what do they call it?
The basin.
Overflow basin?
The basin.
Okay, so the rates went up, and I think George was of the opinion that your entire budget is supported by operational fees. I know that that's not true. Right.
Our budget, the sanitary district budget, is supported 100% by fees, which are on your bill, George. The
sanitary.
basin, which was a project that is tax-backed, it was the last project other than the project I'm currently doing, which was a $77 million bond issued by the City Council about 4 years ago, which gave us the authority to use $77 million for these improvements. $45 million went to the basin. The balance went to 2 clarifiers at about $7 million, and then the 10.4 million that's still left out of the 77 million is being used right now for a project that we're upgrading headworks.
Okay. I don't think that's what George was asking, though. Okay, I think George was surprised when he found out that Jack's department is supported by property taxes.
The sewer department is the only department within the sanitary district that's supported 100% by taxes.
There you go, George. So 90% of your employees outside of Jack's department, 95% of your employees?
Probably 95, 96%.
Are supported outside of Jack's department, and Jack's department is supported by property tax revenue.
Right, which comes to about $3.5 million per year.
For
that
Jack's
runs his
department?
department, yes.
That sucks for you guys to figure out how to.
So what that means is that goes to zero in 2020 because of the final caps. So
Do we know that for a fact?
You know, it depends on who you talk to, Mayor. Some of our consultants say that it'll go to zero. Some of the other consultants that we
Nonetheless,
talk
we
about.
have a gap to fill.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get lucky if we end up with $1 million. I'll be grateful the fact that we start out at $1 million other than zero. But the city,
Jack's department is not optional.
no,
But
the city cannot afford to not have a sewer department. Impossible. Because of the cleaning, and he does a lot of the repairs on some of the drainage areas that we have that he's able to do through his department. So it's twofold, cleaning and maintaining.
So we got, obviously, taxpayers are happy. I'm happy for them. Business owners are happy. Landlords are happy. They're all getting tax breaks. Homeowners are getting the biggest break out of every class. Landlords go from 2.5% to 2%, and business owners go from 3.5% to 3%. But 1.5% to 1 is a 33% reduction in your tax rate. That's a huge tax break you're getting next year, and that's awesome. So we're not complaining. But just understand that that money was used, and it's leaving holes, and that's what the council and the mayor are going to have to deal with in the next term. And not only that, as we all are, I'm sure, are aware, we got issues to our west with Illinois talking about building a casino really close to our city of Hammond, and we got issues right now down in Indianapolis and to our east where our neighbors want to take a piece of our pie, meaning Gary is trying to do a power play on the city of Hammond right now and take our revenue, for our gaming revenue and East Chicago's revenue. Why? Because they're not succeeding right now, and they want to succeed, and they think that they're entitled to Hammond's revenue and East Chicago's revenue. So we're fighting a battle to our west right now, fighting a battle to our east and down in Indianapolis, and we know full well that next year the tax caps are coming. Yeah, that's what we're facing. So that's what I keep on stressing to the residents. I'm happy for you because you're going to get tax breaks, and to the people that are running for office, this is not going to be an easy term because we have to sit down right after we all win. We have to sit down with the FOP. We have to sit down with the fire department union. We have to sit down with the Teamsters, and we have to strike contracts, 4-year contracts with all of our employees. And they want raises, and they don't want to lose people. And that's a tough issue. So that's what I'm saying. Make sure we're all ready for the next 4 years. This is not going to be a cakewalk. Yes, sir.
Has there been, or is it possible to plan a systematic plan or some sort of systematic approach to developing how some of our billings will increase so that it becomes somewhat more predictable, somewhat more foreseeable what's coming down at us? Because it's, I mean, in my last billing, I found a notice that you guys wanted to withdraw from the IURC and go and have all this stuff done, cost of service and all that stuff's going to be done here locally. I just wonder, what's going on? Everything's just coming real hot and fast.
I can take that one. And then I know we have another question over here, but the IURC billing that's in your insert is what Hammond wants to do in that case involves the Hammond Water Department. Hammond Water Department is one of 5% of water utilities across the state, municipal-owned water utilities. 95% of municipal-owned water utilities have opted out of the IURC, which means the control goes locally. In this case, it would go to the Hammond City Council and to the mayor about rates and things like that, rules concerning the Hammond Water Department, oversight of the Hammond Water Department. We had a serious situation. Heather, could you grab a microphone real quick? They brought this to light. I was never crazy about the IURC, and I always thought it just prolonged it. It seemed like a lot of red tape. But something that happened to us about a year ago really pointed out to us why we need to join the 95% of other water utilities across Indiana that opted out of the IURC. Heather, could you talk a little bit about when we had that bond issue and we needed to move quickly to save money and what happened with the IURC?
Sure. So the water department needed to make some facility repairs, and Ed could probably talk more about that if you're interested. And so we went through the process of bonding. This particular bond had no rate increase involved whatsoever, but despite that fact, the IURC, being the body that regulates our water department, required us to go before them for a hearing, just to basically find out what we're doing and give their stamp of approval, although we weren't asking to change the rates to impact any of the residents or our other water customers. So in the time that it took to wait for the meeting, which I believe was about 4 months, the calendar year had changed, the interest rates went up, and we ended up spending a few $100,000 more money because of the increased interest rate, the fees associated with going to the meeting at the IURC, as well as the additional attorney's costs that those 4 months and the hearing required us to pay for attorneys' presence during all of those procedures. So this really was a matter of our own city control, and if we had not been a part of the IURC, would have saved the residents several $100,000. And
I know Ed was particularly frustrated because I know wasn't part of our plant shut down and you needed to move on that, and
Correct.
we weren't unsafe, obviously, but if something bad were to happen, we may not been able to, we would have been in a bad situation. And you always have backup systems, right?
Exactly.
And we were in a precarious situation that you were nervous about, if I remember correctly.
Very nice.
So we wanted to move. Hammond Water Department has the money, and the IURC just called us for months. It was ridiculous. And then it cost us money. And we said, all right. We talked to our lawyers in Indianapolis. What do we have to do to get out of the YURC? And then we find out, oh, you're one of the 5% that's still there. So what you got in your water billing is what we have to do. We have to let everybody know what we're intending to do and, read it closely. But I want you to know why we're talking about doing what we're doing. We did something similar when I first became mayor in the Hammond Sanitary District, if I remember correctly. You weren't there yet, I don't think, Marty.
No, the Hammond Sanitary District has unique legislation where we can choose whether to go to the IURC for a rate increase or the Hammond City Council.
That's what it was. And
Yeah, it's very unique.
And we went to the council, and that was
correct.
the first time in a long time.
Yes.
So anyway, what you got, George, is, and then George, you were also indicating that you're nervous about the future with the payments required by the US EPA. I want you to know, George, that that's a 17-year process, okay? And we estimate within 17 years, the price tag was about $250 million, Marty?
That is correct.
In improvements we have to do over 17 years, and we've done a lot of these improvements already. 50 million worth?
At least, yes.
So we've already made a lot of progress, and we have 15 years or so. So you're not going to see anything tomorrow. But because you're going to be here for the next 15 years? Over the next 15 years, you will see changes in your sanitary bill that are mandated by the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Unless they're still on strike or still on walkout, they may not be back by then, who knows? So, yes, sir.
Well, you answered my question for the most part, but you left the main part of my question out. What's the timeline for all those buildings, including the gas station, coming down?
Thank you. Matt? Could you answer that? Timeline for the remaining buildings on Linden?
All of those buildings are scheduled to be demoed, so the apartment complexes and the 4 houses should usually when they're scheduled, they come down within a couple of months. The gas station, we have a few more hurdles to go through with the gas station because it's a gas station, and we have to make sure there's some environmental issues that we have to get through before we can just tear it down. So that one will take a little bit longer, but the houses in the apartment complexes should be down within the next few months.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's go ahead. Next question, Donna.
Mayor, while you're talking about the tax cuts, in your op-ed in the Times, you mentioned the loss of tax revenue that will leave a large hole in the city's budget in the coming years, just as you said. And you mentioned that addressing the issue will take creativity and ingenuity. Can you please expand on your ideas for creativity and ingenuity?
Well, luckily Hammond has more revenue than expenses. That's a fact, okay? So in Hammond, we've become accustomed to doing millions of dollars every year in capital improvements, and that is what is in danger in all reality. Do we have enough money to pay our police officers and firemen and city employees and still do work? Yeah, we do. It's just not going to be the heyday like some people have become accustomed to. When I say some people, I'm talking about councilmen and mayor who have always had money to do projects like the Optimus Park or like, all the other improvements you see going on. That's what's in jeopardy. So is there enough money to fund government even with tax caps? Yes, there is. In fact, there's more than enough. However, I know that there's some people that like Councilman Emerson. I don't want to speak for Councilman Emerson. He wants extra money so that he could do projects in the 4th District. And he does great projects just like all the district councilmen do. And that's what we're talking about is when I first took over as mayor, district councilmen had about $3 million, if not more, per year to do money. And you could do a lot of projects with $3 million. This year, they got $1.5 million. And we got more this year than they got last year. So things have changed. And the reason things have changed is because we have things now that we didn't have years ago. We had the RDA. We spent $3.5 million to it, whether we like it or not. The state of Indiana took another $1 million because they just took it a couple years ago, right? We also have, there's this College Bound, $4.5 million a year to run that program. It's great, and I support it, but it's expensive. Not too many cities in America send homeowners' kids to college. So we have expenses. Do we have enough money to get through it? Yeah, but we're going to have to discover between the council and the mayor what we're comfortable with. I like having 210 police officers. I like having 155 firemen. That's me, okay? And I know that's expensive, and we've become accustomed to them, and I think that's what it's all about, public safety. I like having the employees. We've cut, okay? So my position going forward is I think we can absorb this. And I think that the state's going to give us tools down the road where we can make things better for the city government, okay? Now, there's councilmen that probably don't feel the same way as I do. And that's what we're going to have to get through is what's the council comfortable with? Are they uncomfortable with this? And do they want to see staffing levels drop? I mean, that's stuff we're going to have to discover. I don't think that's where they're going to go with it, but who knows? And by the way, we're running for election, so the people have a lot to say on what's going on as well, obviously. So creativity. I think we show creativity all the time. The Hammond Water Department, when I took over as mayor, didn't make a lot of money. Because we don't make a lot of money selling water in Indiana. We make money now selling water to Illinois. When I took over as your mayor, we made less than $100,000 a year on Illinois water sales. How much do we get now, Ed? 8 million-ish? 8 million. That's a big increase. Okay, we got sued in federal court over it. We had to hire good lawyers and fight like crazy, but we won. And I hope one day water revenue for Hammond is more than gaming revenue. Wouldn't that be great? We'd have a whole different source of revenue, and nobody could touch us in water. Maybe that's our future. We fight like crazy for gaming because that's ours right now, but maybe we build another water plant and start becoming major players in the water market. Okay, so creativity. I think we show creativity every day. I think council does a great job. I think mayor's office does a great job. I think these department heads are great. I haven't taken a day off. I haven't. I still work hard every day. I worked till 9 o'clock last night. So did a lot of the other people standing next to me. So, all right.
Mayor, when will the water tower on Columbia and 165th be repainted?
Thank you for asking this. It's coming. We're working on it. I don't know who asked this, and I appreciate it. Because I see it every day in my life, just like you do. And every day I see it, I hear Ann Herbert's voice, because Ann got me, and I don't know if it's her question, but I was like, I know she's not going to let this go, and she's watching it, and I don't know if it's Ann's question, I hope it is, but if it's not, I want you to know, I am a pain in Ed's butt because of this. So Ed, could you grab a microphone, talk about what we're doing, and it's a creative approach, because this is a special water tower, it's riveted, right? It's like a steel riveted water tower, which is unusual, right? Isn't it?
They're pretty much the three.
Isn't that one different? Isn't that one different than the others in the city?
It's smaller, 1,500,000 gallons versus 2.5 million.
Right, but it's an important one, obviously.
Very much so. It pressurizes the southwest corner of the city, and those water towers are for fire protection.
Mm-hmm.
Critical.
Right. But it looks like crap, we both agree.
Yes.
You look at it every day of your life too. It's right above you. It works.
I mean, I see it every day, Mayor. I drive to work. I mean,
mm-hmm.
And it's been bugging me for the past 2.5 years, probably 3 years.
So you have, your approach to this was, there's a company, it's out of Michigan, right?
They're out of South Dakota.
South Dakota, but this company specializes in taking over plants.
Long-term maintenance plants.
Long-term maintenance contracts, and they basically sort of own the water tower.
They amortize the cost to make the repairs and paint it, and then maintain it going forward for 20 years.
And they take responsibility. So if it springs a leak or
Correct.
something happens, they're responsible
Correct.
to fix it. So what they do is they come in year one and fix it up from the inside out, paint it, make it look good, and then we pay them a service fee every year, and they're responsible for our repairs and
Correct.
damages and the upkeep. But when's that going to happen? I know you guys were looking at that.
They're going to be in my office on Thursday of next week with Randy Palmetier and the Painters Union and the Boilermakers Union to hammer out a PLA.
Okay.
Private
Why?
labor
Because they're
agreement.
out-of-towners? Because they're not from the region? Is that a problem?
No, I mean, we typically do this. We didn't do it for Parrish, as you might recall.
Mhm.
And just iron out how much skilled positions are going to be on the job. And
Awesome. So this should start within a month or so?
hopefully.
Do they like cover the whole water tower when they're doing it? Do they put
Yes, it'll be kind
they
of
drape the whole thing?
encapsulated.
So it's going to be like that for what, a year?
Well, probably through midsummer.
Okay. There you go. Not bad, huh? We probably thought we ignored it. We did not.
We just
did
need a commitment for some money up front to help us
Right.
get it started.
Yeah. You notice how they slip these things in? This is how mayors lose money. He's like, I told you about it at Mayor's Night Out. Weren't you listening? So, all right, but that's happening. It's something, it's right in the middle of our city, so we're working on it. All right, question in the back. Hi, Barry. How you doing?
This is just in connection to the water tower.
Barry Tyler. I knew you when you were
Sorry.
in high school, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Worked for the First Tee program for the city of Hammond. So nice to see you, Barry.
So this is in regards to the water tower. We were always looking for positive things for youth to do in the city. So could it be an opportunity to section off a portion of that where we do a art contest where a school or students come up with the best graphic representing Hammond, what Hammond stands for, and put that on part of the water tower?
Interesting. Because we do the College Bound logo because water, but I'm open there. Why don't you put a proposal down, okay? But like, one of the things I like to put on the water towers, if you'll notice, is the College Bound logo because College Bound has been, water helps support it, and I think it's a better source of revenue than the casino gaming because casino brings other stipulations. But in fact, there's one water tower that doesn't have the College Bound logo, and we're working on that one also, right, Ed? See, that's how I do it back to Ed during public meetings also. But the one right off of Harrison doesn't have a logo, and we went the whole year without painting it. So I know we definitely want to have that, but I'm open to it, okay, Barry? And if not there, maybe there's other locations we could do something similar. Because the water tower is What's that? Thank you. Awesome. Which is in the 4th district, so. All right. Any other questions on this?
Can we move to police matters?
What's that?
Police matters.
All right, JD.
Is there any update pertaining to the incident where the teenager in a stolen vehicle was shot?
Good question. Happened right here?
Right here.
Well,
Yeah, the officers have returned to work, full duty status. The state police has completed their investigation. It was turned over to the Lake County prosecutor. I have a thumbs up from them to send them back to work. So they're good to go. There's some history there that a lot of people might not know. The juvenile, I'll call him that for sake of saying bad guy. We'll call him a juvenile. And he had been arrested in Chicago a couple weeks prior, a passenger in a stolen vehicle. The day before, he had stolen a vehicle, I believe it was from the YMCA in Hammond, and fled the scene and almost ran over a lady in the parking lot there, and we got some video of that. And then he came back to the scene of the crime because he doesn't live too far from there, and then got into the pursuit with officers, went on the bike trail toward Gavitt. My guys terminated because they were afraid that the students could be out and get run over, so I applaud them for that. They showed a lot of restraint. He doubled back on them. They picked him up again. He was trying to get, actually going back toward the area where he lived when he went down Jefferson. He got into the end of that, what's kind of a cul-de-sac over there, and they thought he was stuck in the yard. He wasn't. He was kind of just lying in wait. When they got out of the cars and tried to approach him and take him into custody, he gunned the engine and took off and came directly toward the officers, endangering their lives, and they were forced to discharge their weapons in the course of that action. I do applaud them for their restraint. They acted appropriately and properly. He does not live with his parents for a record, but they were somewhat vocal with the local press, screaming out, why maybe he shouldn't be used for target practice by the police. I would say, why wasn't he in school that day? And I would say maybe the parents should have kept him there and had him in school and been doing a better job parenting and even known where he was, because he wasn't currently even living with them for some reason. But my officers did a good job. I applaud them for it and stand by them.
Thanks. Thanks, Chief. All you have to do is watch the news and see what's going on across the country right now. There's another shooting in Florida today in a bank. 5 people got killed. Officer got shot yesterday in Michigan, shot in the face. Our police officers, the reason this city is so livable right now is because our police department is going out there doing a great job. And I support them 100%. And I hated hearing that the next day after this 15-year-old that's stealing a ar when everybody else is in school, and then he guns it towards a police officer, and then the officer gets criticized. Are you kidding? I support the police department. I mean, they have body cams. We saw what happened. And for them to come on and say he's a good boy, I beg to differ. I just beg to differ. I don't think a good boy is stealing a car when all the other kids are in class. Now listening to officers driving all over the city like crazy. It's just, we got to support our police department. I got to support it. That's my job as mayor. And if I lose my job because I'm doing the right thing, then I could live with myself. I can tell you that. So, and I do. And I think we have a great police department. And we don't brag about stats, but we have things to brag about. We just don't. I don't believe in bragging about stats because stats change. And we could have a bad year next year and we didn't do anything different. But we had a good year. We did. We're doing the right thing. I think that all this money that we spend on technology that the council lets us do, council let us spend a couple $1 million and we put a license plate reader system all across our city. And we're catching bad guys all the time with this. And I think the bad guys are saying, forget Hammond. Just don't do it anymore. Let's just go around Hammond. Let's go someplace else because you'll get caught if you go there. You know, we were talking about murders the other day and serious crimes. And I asked the captain of detectives, well, how many of those murders that we had last year, how many did we catch? He said, all of them. I said, what about the year before? All of them. I go, when's the last time you didn't catch somebody? He goes, Mayor, it's been a long time. I said, well, who's public enemy number one? The Hammond Police Department. And he was like, huh. And I like stumped him, right? He's like, huh. Because they're like, we catch everybody. And he goes, okay, I got it. And I go, what? He goes, the kid that got shot at Papa John's in the head. He didn't die, but he got shot, and those guys got away. But it's like, when I asked him, he was like, damn, that's a good question. They're so used to catching the bad guys. That's the thing. If they commit a crime, we're going to get them. We have very sophisticated ways to get you now. And the Hammond Police Department does a good job. And if we can't provide a safe community, you don't want to live here anymore, and neither do I, by the way. So we're going to provide a safe community, and that's what gets back to the tax caps. When we start talking about police officer staffing, I don't care what lighting project there is in the city. It's not more important than a Hammond police officer being on the street. That's where I'm coming from. And there's other people that feel differently, and there's people, I heard somebody that's high ranking in the city of Hammond tell me the other day we need to take a look at College Bound. And they were serious, and I said, that's on you, buddy. You want to talk like that? Go out in the public, see how the public feels about it, because I think you'll get tarred and feathered. But that's the way some people are talking now. I'm not for that, but we got some debates coming up, and elections coming up, and people running for office, and you need to provide your input. What do you want? The Hammond resident, do you want 210 police officers? Is there flexibility there? Do you want 155 firemen? In Munster, beautiful, they'll have a $400,000 or $500,000 home with a multimillionaire that lives in there, and then they have a heart attack in their house, and a kid making $10 an hour shows up and gives them CPR. A $400,000 house with a doctor, and there's a kid making $10 an hour, shows up and gives them CPR. And the kid's probably pissed off because he wants to make more money. In Hammond, you have a heart attack in your house, you have a police officer or a fireman showing up, trained. Sometimes you have a paramedic showing up to give you drugs on the spot. I just don't understand why communities are acceptable to that. But that's something you have to think about. We're going to be challenged. We're going to have to make tough decisions. And I know where I'm going. I think we're doing pretty good right now. So, anybody have any questions on this? It's going to be a tough 4 years. That's why I'm trying to do my job now and just be honest and upfront, because these are decisions we have to make. So, this has turned out to be real enlightening. Thanks, Mayor. But the good news is you're getting a tax cut next year, okay? That is good news, so, yeah.
Okay, Mayor, something for Public Works. Excuse me. Can the garbage people and the recycling people be more careful and do several times coming down the alley? We have to go down the alley and pick up a lot of the debris that they leave behind.
Okay, Gary, do me a favor, grab a microphone. Hey, Gary, I hear a lot of stuff, and I want you to go ahead and respond in general, but I want you to hear what I hear all the time. Could you stand up so the audience can see you? There's like 120 people watching. Gary, I hear this all the time. Mayor, your drivers always plow me in. They go by my house on purpose, Gary, because they don't like me, because I've complained before, and I know that driver, he drives by and he puts snow on my driveway on purpose. And they never salt in front of my house because they don't like me. I hear something to this effect every time it snows. So can you respond to that and then to this general question and sort of like let people know how busy you guys are, when you start work, when you get off of work?
It's hard to tell with the winter.
But
we
you
were
get
out
that
for
too,
2
right,
or
Gary?
3 days. We go in at 3 in the morning on a regular basis. The garbage men are usually there by, say, 5 in the morning. And to answer the question, when they tip the can goes directly in the back of the truck. A lot of that is just blowing around from the winds we've had lately, people throwing stuff out of their cars. When these cans are dumped, if you watch them, it goes directly in. As soon as it's in, it's pushed into the truck and locked in. Back to the snow plowing, what can we say? We knew it was coming. Here it comes when we plow the streets. If there's something on the other side, like a field, railroad tracks, they'll turn the plows. They do. And these are all veterans. They know how to plow. But nobody I have a driveway. When I get home, it's plugged too. So it happens. It has to go to the right. So that's how we do it.
You know, the other day, you know, I coach baseball, and one of my coaches also works with you. And I knew they all knew before this last snow, Friday night, everybody knew pretty much they were going into work and working all night, right?
Right.
So they work all day Friday.
Right.
And then they punch out at what, 3:30?
2:30.
2:30. And they all knew probably about 7, 8 o'clock at night, we're coming in and we're working all night, right?
Until it's done.
What time did they come in that night? So people had already worked a full week, by the way.
Right. They left on Friday at 2:30, and they were back at 1 in the morning until Sunday at 5 o'clock in the evening. They stayed plowing.
36 hours?
Right. And then back again. And
That's
they're
legal,
out,
right,
And
Chris?
they're out now. And then we had the ice storm, so they were out during the ice storm. And they were out today because we had some freezing over. They're out now. So we have a couple per area just to make sure we keep it under bridges and stuff like that. We're getting calls on.
And by the way, like I also hear, another thing I hear all the time, you guys don't have ice. That's why you're not throwing it, right?
Salt?
Salt, excuse me. Yeah, you don't have salt. Yeah, you don't have any salt, obviously, because you never salt my street. I hear that all the time. Do
Right.
we have salt?
We have a lot of salt. We
Like
have
what?
salt throughout the city stored.
Like, do we have enough
in-
salt to fill this room?
Yes, easy.
Twice?
I don't know about twice, but we don't have everything on site that we have signed on a contract.
So you got this much on hand right now?
Oh, easy.
Fill this room?
Right.
To the roof?
Not in our dome, but throughout the city, there's storage departments throughout the city that are full of salt. And what we do is, Hammond's big, we all know that, the 5th biggest city. There's over 30 miles, plus we did alleys twice this time. And we do the mains and the sub-mains and police and fire and all the other buildings, civic center and stuff like that. When we go into the residentials, I admit, we do the middles and the stops only. Just have to drive for conditions. All the residentials are 25 mile an hour. When you get to the mains, they'll be fine. But to just run the salt on there, you can't predict what the winter's gonna be. And as you can see what we're getting next week, we're getting it Friday, we're getting it Saturday, Sunday into Monday. It's a lot. And you know, you can use a lot faster than it comes in. So we do keep an eye on it. But for having the salt, we have tons on salt.
How much do you spend every year on salt? For the residents?
Between $600,000 and $800,000 just for the winter.
Yeah. And you've been doing this for?
Almost 30 years. Same
As a department head, how long have you been department head?
Pardon me?
Either street commissioner or the head of department head, how long have you been doing it?
Since '04, 15 years.
No, just with
But
me. That's
Before
right.
that, I was general foreman,
Right.
then foreman.
So you've been ordering, this is your 16th season as department
Right.
head? Gotcha.
Right.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, questions? Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. At the other public meeting, I got a, and this is rare, I had somebody come up and say, Mayor, I want you to tell Public Works that you guys did a great job, that they worked so hard, and my street looks so good. And what did I say to you? Yes? Well, thanks. And because I'm a smart aleck, I said, I hardly ever hear that. That's so nice of you, you know? 'Cause-
Everybody works hard. Oh, thank you. I don't probably need it, but whatever.
It's for the audience.
You know, it's like we all work together for the for the betterment of the community. And I know, because I have neighbors that work for the city, I know how hard they work. And that whole weekend, when some people were out for 3 days, they were working their tails off, okay? And my supervisor right over here, I know him. I mean, it's not just the wintertime I see him in the summertime. I mean, we put stuff out when I'm cleaning my house. I mean, I put it out before I can even call and say, hey, would you pick this up? They're picking it up. I've lived in different places in Lake County. This is not my only place. But I'm staying here because,
Thank
I
you.
mean, they take good care of me. And I just think people need to kind of step up and when somebody does something good, they need to share that
You're
with
sweet. I
everybody.
appreciate it very much. Thank you. Hey, Clyde. Clyde, could you grab the microphone? Could give it to Clyde? Yeah. This is Clyde, everybody. Clyde, could you go ahead and introduce yourself? And you're the Public Works Director for the 4th District. So if they don't know you by now, they should get to know you.
Well, I'm not used to being in a room this big. I'm normally in my truck, so this is.
So this is Clyde. Clyde's the head of the 4th District in the city of Hammond for Public Works. Clyde takes all complaints basically from park issues to street issues to garbage issues, recycling that you can help them with. So,
everything.
Yep. So.
You see me, you can stop and talk to me.
And you got the truck with it says 4th District Supervisor on the side, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you see Clyde going around, stop him. If you have an issue, it's an easy way to take care of it. That's his job. He's pretty much 95% of the time in the 4th District. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. All right. Thanks, Clyde. Good to see you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Let's keep on cruising.
Okay, Mayor. Parks. Is the Sportsplex ever going to have showers in the future?
Good question. Hi, Jim Talon. How's it going? See Jim Talon with the Sportsplex. Yeah, you're eligible to be called on randomly. So Jim's like, I don't know. What do you think about showers at the Sportsplex?
We have a few people that ask about it from now and then.
Yeah.
What we were always told is a lot of these tournaments that we have, the teams come in, and once they lose, they really don't take the time to shower. They usually like to get in their cars and head home. So there are some people that ask about the showers, but for the most part, we don't know exactly how much they would be used or not.
Right. Yeah, because we have showers at the Last Marsh, although it's a different sport, but they're not used very often. But how's it going at the Sportsplex?
Things are going well. We're staying really busy.
You
All
guys were
weekend.
closed last night.
I'm sorry?
Were you guys closed last night?
About 5 o'clock we shut down, and people were canceling their practices and things with the ice coming in, so we really didn't have anything going on, so we just let the staff go home for the night.
Cool.
But we were busy all weekend through the snow.
So how many walkers do you have signed up?
Last I checked, you sign a waiver if you come in to walk. It's free to walk, but we have over 1,600 people now that are signed up to walk in the Sportsplex. So I would say of that number, 500 or 600 are pretty regular that come in.
What's the busy time?
Right now it's always busy because of the new year. Everybody's trying to lose some weight. But in the morning, we usually get there about 7:30, and there are cars out there waiting for us ready to walk. So
Like if I walked in at like 9 o'clock, how many walkers would be there?
50.
Really?
Yeah.
And they're all like looking for like coffee and places to spend their money in there, and we have to figure out. Like if we had like a coffee shop or donuts or something like that, we'd probably be fairly successful, I imagine, right?
I think so. I think we'd do all right with that.
No donuts? Yeah. Yeah, if we had the donuts, all the dang police will be there all day, so we gotta figure
People
out.
want to watch The Price is Right during the day.
Thank you.
There are groups, though. A lot of these walkers now kind of know each other, and so there are groups that you see sitting around, and they all kind of come at the same time.
How's the concession stand doing downstairs?
Concession stand's doing really well. We're
Give me an
packed.
idea. What does that mean?
I think this.
How many hot dogs did you sell on Sunday?
Over the weekend, I think we sold over 500 hot dogs. We sold probably about 600 Gatorade.
You should have like some type of statistics. Like we sold enough hot dogs to go all the way to West Lafayette, something like that.
That's a good idea. We're impressed with the hot dog sales because I pushed for better hot dogs. This is a body built by hot dogs, so I wanted to make sure we had good hot dogs in there, and we get the most.
I heard they were excellent hot dogs.
They're very good. They're like what you would get at a baseball game.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good. So it's packed, man. I tell you, it's really cool to walk in there and see what's going on. I think it's going to have a big impact on that area. And I know that the local restaurants over there appreciate it. You know, I live not even a mile from the Sportsplex, and one thing I see that's different is I see teams a lot of times. Like I go into Shoops sometimes, I'll walk in, I'll see like a basketball team that just got done with the game, and they're all sitting there eating at Shoops. And you're like, this is cool, you know, stuff that I've never seen. Or you go to the Wheel, or you go to the Steak Shack, or wherever you're going. It seems like they're going to do well over there.
And hotels, we're getting a lot of calls from hotels now because some of the two-day tournaments are coming in, and they're getting people that are already calling to book their hotels. And I guess we can officially announce now that Under Armour is coming in May 18th and 19th. So
Really?
it's the first shoe company that's coming in. It's called, so UA Rise is the name of their program, and they're coming in. And for us to get that on the first year is a pretty good deal for
That's
us.
awesome.
They usually don't do that in first-year facilities. So to have a major shoe company and putting a tournament in our first year is pretty good.
I know we have a big tournament coming up on Friday too, big volleyball tournament. It's going to be widely watched.
We can't talk about that. The Sportsplex team is missing a couple of our better players. They might have been recruited by somebody above me.
We have a city Olympics, and it's volleyball on Friday. So the mayor's team always wins because it's the mayor's team. So I recruit the best from every department, and I did pretty well this year. So anyway, it should be interesting. I can't play this year, which is unfortunate, but my team will be well represented in my absence. So
Yes, it will.
thanks.
Okay.
Anyway, good to see you, Jim. Anybody have
Thank-
questions about the Sportsplex?
Hey, Mayor, can I add Mayor
Sure.
over here to your left?
Oh,
here?
hey, Mark, what's up?
I just wanted to point out, going back to the question about the showers, we do have showers available at Gene Shepherd and both Civic Center, which both also have walking tracks. So those are both
Oh, really?
membership facilities.
Do people use them?
But they both
There's
have showers
at
available.
the Shepherd Center in the bathroom, I guess.
Well, and that was the other comment I wanted to make. We have them there. No one uses them.
If I saw a
but
naked
they are
person
there
in
at
a
Gene
shower,
Shepherd.
I'd call the police officer if I saw a naked person in that bathroom.
But they are in the washrooms off of the gym side.
Yeah.
So just
Okay.
as an FYI.
Yeah, I think it's frowned upon if you take a shower there, though. Yes, ma'am.
Speaking of the sports complex, the parking, but what's going on with Carson Perry's?
But good question. Attorney Cantor, could you go ahead and take that? I know you're working with the demo on Carson's. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, no problem. Hang on. Sorry, I've been confounded by the microphone here. Am I on? Okay. The project was slowed a little bit by the need for an environmental remediation, but it should be down by May or June.
Did I miss something?
No, it's coming down. It's coming down in the spring. Yeah.
You're opposing?
Yeah.
I just heard the.
I broke the fourth wall like Deadpool.
So. the
May or
answer-
June. It got slowed down a little bit by some environmental issues that had to be addressed first, but it's going to be coming down to May or June.
Well, good. And then we're going to have to lay out what it's going to look like after that comes down.
Try to sell it or what?
Well, no, I mean, we want to sell as much as we can, and we also have to address the parking issues. But, it seems like the parking's flowing, like behind the old Carsons to the west of the Carsons. When the front lot fills up at the Sportsplex, it seems like it's flowing pretty nicely. Wouldn't you agree, Jim? It doesn't seem like as far away as you have to park. It's really not that far away. And then you do have the lot to the west that you're working on also, right? Right to the west that goes through the other door. So I think that if we're patient, that we might land a big fish, and I'm hoping we could land a big fish. So, yes, sir.
Right across the street from that sports complex, you got those restaurants that went out of business, like
Right.
the Pizza Hut building, for example,
Mhm.
and it looks kind of drabby. Any plans for those buildings?
Good question. Thank you. In fact, I was just driving down that with some ideas today that I wanted to talk to Africa about. But Africa or Ann, you might want to address this. But I do know that the Pizza Hut, in particular, is super frustrating for me because when they left, they owned the building, and the stipulations that they left on the building are unreasonable, really, because they didn't want anybody to compete with them in their new location. So the stipulations they have for anybody that buys that building from them are pretty severe. Africa, could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, the former Pizza Hut building on Indianapolis Boulevard is owned by Yum Brands, and they also own Taco Bell, and they own some other places as well, some other fast food restaurants. So one of the covenants that are on that property is that you can't put like a Pizza Hut, anything that will be like in competition to Yum Brands. So that really limits the amount of activity that can go there, the type of restaurant that can go there, especially with a fast food restaurant.
What about Chipotle? Wouldn't work, right?
I'm sorry?
Chipotle wouldn't work? Taco Bell, right?
Taco Bell
So
would.
like almost
No.
every idea you come up with is just shot down.
Yeah, pretty
because
much.
they cannot compete with Yum brand, and Yum is everything. So that building's limited, which stinks because it's super marketable, especially now with the Sportsplex being right across the street. I think if there's somebody that's looking into getting into not fast food in particular, like a Chipotle or a fast food type of situation, closely located to the Sportsplex. Jim, you work pretty closely with all these businesses, right? I know I talk to Shoops a lot, and I know that they have regularly delivered to the Sportsplex.
Right,
There's also a new Domino's right over there.
Yeah.
By the subway, and it's a bigger.
Yeah.
It's the one you can sit down in too.
Oh, yeah?
It's
Yeah, right by the subway there.
Yes, right by the subway.
Which is smart.
Yeah, we sell Domino's, Taco Bell is a sponsor. So most of the restaurants in that area are part of the sponsorship, and that people can bring some of that food in as well. we're even allowing people to order from our sponsors.
Yeah.
But we sell Domino's and Papa John's pizza out of the concession stand as well.
Nice. Okay.
And KFC is another one that's a Yum brand.
Yeah.
Good
KFC
question
as
about
well.
that. I appreciate that. You know, and this area over there, I want to talk to the planning and see if, I had some ideas today, but I don't really want to talk about it publicly because I don't know how feasible they are. But any other questions about Sportsplex? Sounds like we were talking about. Does anybody have anything to talk about over here? Anything going on we want to talk to the public about? Anybody? No? Port Authority? No? Controller's office? Boring? PD? Boring? Boring is good? Boring's good? Yeah. Go ahead, Marlon.
I'll do a quick commercial. Lost Marsh Golf. Yeah, staycation. Thank you. Lost Marsh Golf Course. With the right weather, we're going to have cross-country skiing. We do have downhill sledding. And Barry, First Tee. We have a golf simulator at the First Tee building. It does cost $25 per hour per person to tee it up. Brandon there can schedule a tee time for you, and he can also pick a golf course. I'll help you pick a golf course. You could reach the First Tee at 228-2528. It's still a Hammond number, so that would be a good winter activity inside, other than going to the Sportsplex, or Gene Shepherd, or the Civic Center, or just going out and walking. Right, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Because the trails we do as a city, Gary does it with his guys, and we do it in the rest of the north part. We take care of the trails and make sure after
Yeah.
the snow.
Thank you, by the way.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
It's ready for people
You
to
know,
bike and
if you're on a
walk.
skinny tired bike, like a lot of us ride, if it's really dusty like that, you slide easy. It's scary, right? It's scary.
Do we need to get you a fat tire bike for your next birthday, Mayor?
Yeah, right. No, I like
No?
my bike,
Okay.
but I'd rather just have clean bike paths. That'd be great. So
Okay, we're
we
trying.
appreciate what you all do.
Okay.
Mayor, can we talk about 219 Day, which I'm pretty excited about?
Yes, I am going to talk about
Okay.
219A. I'm going to let Donna talk about that, but before, I want to recognize Matt Muta, whose birthday is today.
Yay!
Matt Muta.
Yay!
Matt, a resident of the 4th District and part of the Hammond Sanitary District. I'm going to guess on your birthday. I'm pretty good at this. 27.
No.
Damn.
Higher.
Really? What is it?
31.
Oh, geez. Never mind. I'm not that good at it. So my future as a carny is in doubt after that one. So, okay. Donna, let's talk 219.
Chris, feel free to talk. Phil
No,
Talon, 219 Day. We have a lot of things that are really fun and funky this year. We do every year, but this is our 4th year, and we went all out. We have 2 great bands. One's called Full House, and one's called Davy Knowles. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to go to the Steve Miller Band concert that was at the Pavilion last summer, but he was one of the openers, and he was fabulous, so we decided to hire him. We're going to do a lot of fun things like play games, such as human foosball. Phil picked that one. Skee ball, Heather picked that one. And a lot of other fun and funky stuff like a giant Jenga, Connect 4. Reggie the Region Rat is going to be there. He's in the crowd, but I'm not going to say who he is because it's secret. And a lot of region food.
And don't forget our
and a
theme.
lot of region craft beer. And it's free admission. And Phil, can we talk about your special thing?
Well, we talk about our theme. Every year we have a
Yeah,
theme.
what's the theme,
Our
Chris?
theme, yes.
This theme is the Oscars, Region
Oscars.
Fancy.
It's pretty close to the real Oscars,
It's
too, right?
pretty close to the real Oscars, and we're going to have different categories.
It's region Oscars.
Region
Like
Oscars.
best smoker,
And
you
we're
know,
going to
stuff
have
like-
we're going to have online voting, so you can nominate people for the region categories.
There you go. So Region Rat of the Year.
Region Rat, well, yes, Region Rat of the Year.
So, I
Best
know.
tattoo. You know,
Best
there's
tattoo.
there's going to be some good ones out there.
Good.
So
there you go.
and there will be.
Phil?
Well, Mayor kind of unveiled this on his radio show on Friday, but this year we are going to be giving away a Region Rat car. So we're not going to give you too many more details than
It's got to
that
be
right now.
super nice then, right?
It's going to be beautiful, Mayor.
Yeah.
They're going to. Yeah.
Is it going to be a burden to win it, or is it actually going to drive?
No, it's going to run fine.
Wouldn't it be you like, hey, congratulations, you won a car, now you got to move it. It doesn't work.
No, it will run fine. Again, I don't want to give too much away. I think we're going to unveil more on your radio show. But you don't have to, it doesn't cost anything to enter. You just have to be at 219 Day to win the car. So you're going to want to show up this year. It's going to be pretty amazing.
It's gonna be nice, right?
Yes.
Yeah, winner has to
It's
stay
gonna have
because
a
they have
great
to be
start.
present.
You have to
Winner
have a
must be
great start.
present.
Mayor,
Right.
you may see the car and want to get rid of your current vehicle that you drive to work and take this one. I don't know.
Really?
Some restrictions will apply.
Yeah, okay.
Must be a licensed driver, must have
I
insurance,
know.
must be
I
over
know.
21.
Can't wait till 219 Day this year, so.
Super fun event, February 16th, 6 to 11.
Hey.
And we are providing, thanks to Mylan and the Port Authority, a shuttle bus to the South Shore Station and back.
Nice.
That mostly was used by people who live up north and wanted to get a ride to the Civic Center, but we are partnering with the South Shore, and we can get you a shuttle.
You know,
to the
Davy
Civic Center.
Knowles is a really good band. It's not often that we get bands that are going this way. Usually when we get bands, it's like we catch them like on the way down. We're catching these guys on the way up. These guys were recommended to us by the Steve Miller Band, okay? And we're like, we wanted the Steve Miller Band to play here, and they're like strongly recommended that Davy Knowles open for them. So we're like, yeah, that sounds great. These people are from the Isle of Wight, which is in the middle of the English Channel, if I'm right. And they fly here, and they don't get paid a lot, by the way. These are like young guys that are trying to come up. But when they started playing, the Steve Miller Band all got out and watched the entire show. These guys are good. So the fact that they accepted, I was pretty excited about that. So it's free to get in, 219 Day. It's a super fun time. It's an adult party, right? No kids?
21 and over.
Thank you. 21 and over. So it's an adult party, but it's fun, and it's free. You can't beat that. So come
Did we-
celebrate all things region.
Mayor, did we bring up the cash box as well?
No, we did not.
Oh, I forgot about that. Good one.
There's also going to be there's certain people who are going to be at 219 Day who are going to be chosen to enter the cash box where you get inside and the air's blowing and you grab as much cash as you can. So again, I
Is it
wouldn't
real
miss this
cash?
year.
Not like Monopoly money. It's real money.
No, it's going to be, well, there'll be some, whammies in there as well, but there's going to be a lot of real money as well. Yes.
John, are we still doing the pinata?
Yeah, we have
Pinata,
to- we
yeah.
have to have
Pinata
a
is on order. He looks like he's wearing a tux.
With the pinata, though, let's strengthen up the broomstick this year. Somebody's going to hurt themselves, right? The broomstick always breaks on the pinata, so we have to have an extra strong broomstick. So,
It's so solid. We needed a baseball bat just about
Yeah,
to
right.
open it.
Where are we going to find a baseball bat?
yeah, right. Okay, so let's go ahead. The police chief, JD, wants to go ahead and talk about a policy change. Do you mind if I talk a little bit about this before you talk about it? I saw something with Officer Kelly Mickey, who was in the back of the room. She had no idea I was going through the car wash this day. It was in the summer, and I was going through the car wash, and I said, "Oh, look, there's Officer Mickey." She's with this lady, and they're like, I could tell they're like fishing in the window, trying to open up the car. And I was driving by, she had no idea I was there, and I'm like, I'm gonna tape record this encounter. So I'm going by like a creeper, like taping Officer Mickey. She has no idea, and right when I drove right by her, they popped it open, and they were both like, yes! And they like high-fived each other, and I was like, oh my God, I had that all on tape. So I dropped it, and I embarrassed her, and I said, a lot of people beat up the police officers, but there's a lot of times when you need a police officer there for you, they're there for you, and I dropped it. It was beautiful, thank you, Officer Mickey. And then I got back to work, and I said, JD, that was so awesome. I saw Officer Mickey do this, and he said, she violated our rules. And I said, I hope I didn't get Officer Mickey in trouble. So with that, JD, I know you guys are talking a lot
she
about
did, and we're going to talk after this. We're going to have a little conversation. What happened prior to your arrival here? We had an incident. We would routinely carry lockout equipment in every squad. Slim Jims was all it took back then. Cars were a little different, not as technology advanced as they are. The wiring wasn't in the door panels as much. Most locks were manual, and historically, that is a service we provided. It was a great service, a great community relations tool. And then one day, we came upon a more modern Cadillac that had a child locked in it on a warm day. And the mother had probably gone to a payphone before cell phone days and called us over, and we opened the car. While doing so, we damaged the wiring that went to the electronic locks were in the car. And our officers were not specifically trained to open those. We were just helping out. In this case, a child, like I said, was in the car. So kind of important, I would say. She sued the city. It wasn't a lot of money, but she sued the city to pay for the damage to repair her car. So the then presiding city attorney said to avoid future litigation and problems, we're going to stop doing lockouts. And we did. We weren't even allowed to carry Slim Jims ever again legally. But, so our civil defense guys helped out a little bit, but then we got our towing contractors in on it, and only one of them, out of all of our towing contractors, really wanted anything to do with it. But you would have to stand by, call a locksmith or that particular tow company for like a $75 fee to open your car. Well, with the advancement of cars continuing, they now have lockout kits that have advanced and caught up to them. We've been looking at those. We've been testing a few of them. We ordered them. They're on station. We're going to start training and briefings within a couple of weeks. And as each officer is trained, they're going to be given a lockout kit, and that is a service that we very soon, and you got to sign a waiver provided by the new city attorney. We'll have those with us in case damage is done, so we don't get sued.
So if we don't sign, if the resident is locked out and refuses to sign the waiver, you guys wouldn't do it, right?
Correct.
But if they sign a waiver, it says as long, you're not intentionally damaging my car, and if damage results from it, you can't sue us, basically.
Correct. And with this new lockout kit, the likelihood of damage is extremely small, extremely small. We'll be advertising this, on our Facebook page and so on when we actually roll it out a few weeks from now. But training's going to start, and we're very proud that this is a service we can give back to our community, so we can help you on site, get you back in your car, and get you on your way, no cost to you.
Cool. Congratulations. That's great news. Great news for Officer Mickey, too. So, all right. Thanks, Chief. I'm going to pass off to Dean Button, the city engineer, who wants to talk about Public Works project that's being federally funded. That's going to take place on Calumet Avenue along the bike trail, the Erie Lackawanna Bike Trail. Dean?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just in about a month or so, you're going to start to see some construction work starting at Calumet and Conkey for a new pedestrian bridge that we have. We've received about $2 million worth of federal funding for. And that should be done this year. It's a unique crossing. So the Erie Lackawanna crosses from the northwest corner of Calumet and Conkey to the southeast corner. And so it'll fly over that intersection from the northeast to the southwest. And you'll see the center span fully across Calumet, and there'll be 2 approach spans on each side, so there'll be a lot of visibility underneath. They'll look somewhat similar to the bicycle bridges that we have at Columbia and Southeastern and over on the Monon. A little bit different, but a much longer span, but a very, very exciting project we're starting off.
Sorry, thank you, Dean. Sure. I was trying to speak in sign language to Mark Hines. I was saying Edison Park. Okay, good. I'd like to talk to you about Edison Park, if you guys don't mind. So it was supposed to be smoother than that. It did not work out. But Councilman Emerson partnered with the city of Hammond, and we did a great project. The biggest complaint I have about the project is kids are sneaking in at nighttime to play soccer on fields we built, which I think is amazing. So I know Mark Hines obviously had a lot to do with that. Councilman Emerson, I want to thank again for his partnership. Mark, could you talk a little bit about Edison Park and what we did out there?
Sure. We were excited because it was really actually out of our 4 pool sites, the first one that we started on and the first one accomplished, obviously. We were able to get the ribbon cutting done this last November and right in time for winter to hit. So, but even with that, over Thanksgiving weekend, if you remember, it was a little bit warmer. I happened to drive by 2 or 3 times. Lots of kids popping in out there, still playing on the equipment, on the soccer fields that are out there, and the little skate spot that's there. So a lot of different things. If you haven't been by, that was a full edge to edge to edge. The whole city block is Edison Park. If you're not familiar, it's just 2 blocks west of Edison give me the cross street there. That is Spruce and Jackson. So includes 2 artificial turf soccer fields. It has the soccer walls like we have at the Sportsplex on the indoors, but this is outside. It's an
Are those fields the same size as the ones in the Sportsplex?
They're about half the size. They're about half the size. And we wanted it purposely that way because you wanted it for the pickup games that just happen in the parks. And Councilman Emerson, when we started the project early on, said the game of choice that he had seen at Edison Park in that district was soccer. And that was really the area that we concentrated on and made that the focal centerpiece of the park. And wanted them to be small enough where if you only had 3v3, 4v4, you only had a small group of kids. You didn't want to have a full 10 against 10 game going on there. So you wanted to have something on the smaller scale. Put in 2 of them, so if you had a lot of kids do show up, you can use both of them. Besides that, in the park, we really put in a whole active loop of fitness equipment. We've put in the playground safety surfacing. There's a new shelter in the park. We have, it's a third of a mile if you walk the perimeter sidewalk around the entire park. As Councilman Emerson mentioned earlier, that was widened out, so it's a nice wide sidewalk. In the far northwest corner of the park is the skate spot, which is basically a miniature version of a skate park. And then we also redid a large part of the field space. We've irrigated the entire park, so I mean, it's really going to be, we believe, nice for years to come. If you haven't seen, it's our first site that we have concrete beanbag boards. You got to bring your own beanbags, but there's 2 sets of those courts out there for you to show up and just play beanbags. There's also going to be porch swings, which is on our final punch list. We're waiting for those to be fabricated, and those will be coming here in the springtime as the weather breaks. They'll be installed out there as well. So it's really a neat site. People are still using it. I actually had a phone call this morning from a local church who wants to do a soccer camp there this coming summer. So that's something that we'll be talking to them further about. But really, it is meant to be a local neighborhood park where it's free to come. It's open at all times. You can close the gates. If you ever happen to go out there and lock yourself in, I'm going to give you a good tip. There's a button on top of the door where you came in. That's how you unlock it from the inside. One of the days the contractors were leaving, a couple kids were out there playing, and they're screaming as the contractors are leaving the site, saying, "Let us out of here." Didn't know how to get out. So it was kind of a comical situation to see that happen. So at the ribbon cutting, I didn't get Mayor to go in there and trap him. I wanted to see if he could figure out his way out. That didn't happen, unfortunately, though. I was going to get you in there. So. But it's really a nice site so far. A lot of positive feedback that we've had. The shelter that is there, that is a shelter that we don't plan to rent out as we do some of our other ones. It's meant to be just a place of shade for that particular park when you need to take a refuge, or that recreational spot for you to read a book and enjoy being outside in the weather. So, but we enjoy it so far, and we're also underway at the other pool sites of Hessville and MLK. Those are both underway, and we'll be seeing completion dates here in 2019.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and hear Donna's last question.
Okay, Mayor, what is the latest on the South Shore line?
Wow, that's a good last question. It's a big issue. I haven't heard anything, I'll be honest. And the federal government being shut down, I don't think we're going to hear anything until the federal government figures out whether or not they could continue to fund operations. I talked to Congressman Pete the other day. He didn't bring this up at all. He was at the MLK March. I got to talk to him a little bit, but we're banking on it. I want to remind you that City of Hammond struck a good deal on behalf of our citizens. That deal required that until it's approved by the federal government, we don't have to pay anything. And once it's approved by the federal government, we're on the hook for $900,000 a year, if I remember. Who was it less than? Oh, that's even better. 475 over 30 years. So 475 over 30 years is still a lot of money. 15 million, but still 15 million is a pretty significant contribution. I think it's important for downtown Hammond that needs a major investment. I think is a major investment, and I hope that this happens. I hope we're on the hook for 15 million over 30 years, but we haven't spent a penny to this point, and it hasn't been approved to this point. Everybody's just sort of playing the waiting game. So, yes, sir.
This question indirectly pertains to the South Shore.
Sure.
Yeah, you know the Jefferson Hotel that they just went out of business, where the South Shore line will be coming through?
Good question.
Any plans for that spot of the Jefferson Hotel? And since while you're answering that question, how about the LaSalle too?
Good question.
The lanes.
Okay. The City of Hammond, we purchased both the LaSalle Hotel and the Jefferson Hotel, and we've demolished the Jefferson Hotel. Is it down? It is down. Is it halfway down? Okay. The South Shore line will not go through that location. It'll go next to it. But we are in the process of acquiring a lot of properties in downtown Hammond in the hopes that the South Shore line goes through there and we can sort of redevelop and, repurpose that entire area. Because we're starting from scratch, basically. We own the LaSalle property right now, and we're going through evaluations as we speak. There's plans, but we're not public. It's not to that point yet. So thank you. Any other questions on the South Shore? Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming out to Mayor's Night Out in the 4th District. I want to remind you that nobody gets paid any extra for doing this. I think we've done close to 100 of these now, Chris, right? We did 11 a year for a long time, and now we do 6 a year. Now we do 1 in each district per year. We also do, I have a weekly radio show. I'm sure most of you know that by now. It's on every Friday morning on WJOB Radio, 7:45 in the morning. We also do virtual Mayor's Night Out. I do multiple public meetings. We try our best to be transparent with everything going on. Thank you to everybody for showing up to Mayor's Night Out. Like I said earlier, the next Mayor's Night Out's in the 5th District, February 27th, 2019 at Purdue University Northwest in the library building. Thank you all. Enjoy your night. Be careful driving home.